Let's just duck out of the frame and then we'll restart. Ready? Hey! What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Thank you for being patient. We had a bit of a technical snafu occur over the last 45 minutes or so.
Yes.
So first of all, let's just welcome you guys to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 167.
We're getting up there.
Every week we get up there. Tonight is special because this is our last show.
Oh.
Am I going to break your heart?
Well, it's already been a very emotional day.
Yeah. This is our last show from this space, from this home, from Los Angeles. It actually just dawned on me about 10 minutes ago that this is, in fact, the last time we will be broadcasting live from this room. And I think tonight, at the end of the show, I'll give you a 360 view of this room so you can finally see, one, how messy it is because we're moving. And we've been going through a lot of the stuff in this room, but also just how small it was, because that has surprised a lot of people at just the scale and size of this room that has served as both the review space, the live show space for the last 2+ years.
Edit space, storage space.
Everything.
Office space.
But we've been having technical difficulties. So my laptop, which I normally broadcast off of, has completely... it's not dead, but I believe the hard drive is going because it is no longer working as normal. It is no longer working at the caliber or level that it has been over the last couple of years, which sucks because I need it to work right now because we're basically tearing down the studio space, my regular computer and everything. So we need the laptop to work. But unfortunately, it's not going to work for tonight's show. We tried and it failed. And at the top of the show, we don't have graphics, we don't have music because we're going off of my other computer, which doesn't have the software to do.
But we had my comedy, which wasn't heard because the audio wasn't working.
Someone will have to take that segment, redub it, and put like piano music or yakety sax or something over it because it was hilarious. We thought tonight would be a special show, episode number 167, because it is our last episode here in this home. Rather than bring on a guest and talk about things not necessarily associated with kind of our journey.
Right.
We thought it would be a great opportunity to talk about inspiration, your stories, and do one of our favorite episodes, which is our viewer mail episodes, where we get to read through emails that you have sent us over the last, I guess, since the last one we did was almost 2 months ago. What's going on? Rob
Morley says, have you tried turning it off and on again?
The problem is I closed the lid and it just won't come back on at all. So yeah, it's been doing that on its own. I haven't even had to ask it or force it to. But we are going to, we have a series of emails that you guys have sent to us over the last almost 2 months since we've done the last inspiration and viewer mail. And we're going to be reading through as many of those as we can tonight and into the post show as well. If you have questions or you have stories that you would like to share, you can do so. We might be able to get to additional stories tonight. We have a lot, but you feel free to send them because if we don't get through them tonight, we'll get through them on the next viewer and inspiration episode. So all you have to do is just send your story, whether it's a recent race or how you got into running, that sort of thing. You can send it to thegingerrunner@gmail.com with the subject viewer mail. And if you have any specific questions about gear or anything like that you'd also like to ask, you can just throw this into the chat room because
I will be keeping my eye in the chat room as always. Tim Jarut.
Jarul? Is he here?
Jarul isn't here. Tim says, maybe do a live stream from Seven Hills Running Shop next week to buy time for setting up the new studio in Seattle. We'll actually talk about what's going to happen with the show the next Monday or the next 2 Mondays. Whenever you're ready to talk about it. But we won't actually be in Seattle quite yet.
Basically what's occurring, and we can cover that now. It's not like there's a secret or it's a big announcement, but...
It's a baby. It's not a baby.
Wait, what? There's no baby. We are moving. This is not our first time talking about it. This is not our official announcement, but we are moving from Los Angeles to Seattle. Over the last few weeks, we've basically been prepping our stuff here in Los Angeles, and we're not there yet. There's still a lot of prep to do this week because our movers are coming this weekend and they are moving our stuff to Los Angeles. And who would have thunk moving is so expensive?
Oy.
Yeah, who would have thunk? But apparently it is. So we are purging everything.
Not only is moving expensive, but getting different quotes from different moving companies can be vastly different.
Vastly different. Like twice or 3 times as much as the first quote you thought was twice as much as you thought you were going to spend. Regardless, we're just getting rid of as much stuff as possible. So the movers are coming and taking what we're actually taking to Seattle this weekend. And then over the next 6 or so days, we're just getting rid of the things that we don't need. And it's been kind of a therapeutic process too, getting rid of things that we realize, wow, we haven't used that ever.
That hasn't moved since we've lived in this house.
We basically put it somewhere to store it, and it just has kept it there. Many of you who have moved, in fact, if any of you have moved, you are nodding your heads and you're able to relate. I can't tell you the number of comments or emails I've gotten from people just saying, I know what you're going through. You will get through it. Moving sucks, but it is so great when you're on the other side. And we know it's, when I moved to Los Angeles, it was a very similar move. So now moving back to Seattle is just one of those things where it's like, you're pulling your hair out, but we just can't wait to be back up there. So our timing, the only reason we were talking about next Monday's show is because we will be in Los Angeles. We will most likely not have internet. So we will not be doing a show next Monday. But we hope to be doing a show the following Monday from Seattle. Regardless, there will be content, and we will most likely do like a Facebook Live or something in place of next week's show. But we figured you guys, of all people, would be able to understand kind of what's going on in our lives, and that maybe one Monday we need to go dark just so we can actually sanely deal with the things that we need to get dealt with down here before we make the drive up.
Because even today, trying to do the show was like, it felt like a big deal to make sure we had time to do the show today, and we're still days away from the move. So
today I had to say goodbye to my sister because this is the last time. We're hoping to see them again.
Yeah, we're hoping to see them again.
But my sister lives in Los Angeles, and so we got to spend a little bit of today with her and her husband and her daughter, our niece. That's just, I didn't realize until they left that I'm like, that's probably the last time I'll see them for a while.
And they literally just left just before we went live. So both of us are like,
yeah, it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I kind of went, oh my God, you realize I take it for granted that I live so close to them, all those sort of life things. Regardless, we can talk a little bit here at the top of the show about life and transitioning and stuff like that. But I have a ton of your stories that I would much rather talk about on tonight's episode because some of these are great. I haven't read through all of them. But just so you guys are aware, we have had an absolute incredible time here in Los Angeles. It's an amazing city. The people, the community is fantastic. Over the last 10 years, I've lived here just under 10 years. I'm going to call it a decade. I'm going to call it a decade in LA.
A decade on.
It's been one of the most incredible journeys. And if you are watching, or perhaps you have a son or a daughter who's ever thinking about going into the performing arts and moving to Los Angeles, or maybe you are a young adult and you're thinking about making the transition, bottom line, I will never have regretted moving here. I will never regret moving to Los Angeles. I would have always regretted not moving here. I feel like I grew more as a human, more as a creator, more as an artist than anywhere else I've ever lived. And it's also shown me a lot of what the city has to offer on the entertainment side of things, but it also has showed me what I really need in life and what makes me truly happy, and kind of opened new doors and shown me a path that I'm ready to pursue. And that's back up in the Northwest.
And I think everybody can potentially relate, or has a story that can maybe relate. Like, so you moving to Los Angeles, was that for you? Me moving to Southeast Asia when I was younger, was that? Me moving to Vancouver, was that? So I feel like, wherever it is, you're always going to have, like, there's always a relatable story of that, of like, we're very much like pro do what you feel like you need to do in your heart, as opposed to I need to stay here because rent is cheap, or I need to stay here because I have this job, And
many of you have full-time jobs, full-time careers, full families, multiple kids. We totally understand that we are in a very unique position where we don't have those obligations to, we have the freedom to pick up and move to Seattle. So we're very sympathetic to that too, where there are people who are like, I'm stuck where I am because of this and this and this, and that's totally understandable. I will be making a series of videos this week, whether it's going to be daily. I think it's going to be mostly daily, starting in the next couple of days. That's going to document my 10 years here, as well as the reasons I moved here, the reasons why I'm leaving, as well as the things that I accomplished, and hopefully somewhere in this series, you will be able to find some sort of inspiration, or, a unique path that you've always wished you'd taken. And maybe this will help push you to kind of do that sort of thing. So yeah, that series will be dropping in the next couple of days, and we'll start through our transition process. And I hope you guys enjoy it. It's going to be more of a daily vlog sort of style, where I'm going to be talking a lot to the camera, just transitioning from Los Angeles to Seattle. But the city, I just have so many incredible memories here from being on set and some of the incredible acting opportunities that I've had, but also filmmaking opportunities from behind the camera, a lot of growth just as a human. So talking about inspiration on this episode tonight, I hope the series that starts will maybe inspire some of you to do something you think is impossible. It's really what Ginger Runner was all about at the very, very beginning. And whether that's running an ultra or running an event or towing the start line of something you consider impossible or that you would never do, or if it's just somewhere in life, starting a new job you never thought you could get, or asking for that raise, or picking up your family and moving to a location that you thought would be career suicide, that sort of thing. But maybe it could open up a new door and new opportunities. So that's the goal of the series, and we'll be dropping that in the next couple of days. I am ready to start reading some viewer mail. What's the chat room saying? Are they saying shut up?
They're like, shut up, Ethan. Go to the Northwest. It's cold there.
Kemosabi 75.
And for everybody who's like sent us like the messages of like, oh, you're gonna regret moving, you're gonna miss the sun, oh, it's always raining, it's cold up there. We actually really love that kind of weather.
We love seasons.
I potentially will complain about being cold because I'm an actually cold person, but that's part of the big draw for us up there.
I can't tell you, the number one response to us moving is, oh, you're gonna miss the sunshine, you're gonna miss the sunshine. I will tell you right now, it's not about the weather.
I actually had somebody lecture me on how my body needs that sunshine.
Growing up in the Northwest, you're fully aware.
You know,
you know what it takes or what you need when it comes to sunshine, because you do need it. And in the Northwest, you learn the seasonal behavior, or what is it? Seasonal effectiveness disorder is super common. And so when getting the sun is important, but moves are much more than weather. And in this case, it's far beyond weather.
There's a question from Miriam in the chat room just while we're still talking about moving and
Go
stuff.
ahead and, and I'll pull
Miriam
up some more.
says, what will you miss most about LA?
It's a great question.
I think for me personally, obviously like friends and family that we have here, but as much as I probably complain about Griffith Park all the time and that it's just like a little boring, a little monotonous, it's actually like the more and more we get closer to this move, I realize how much I'm actually going to miss that park and kind of miss the safety within that park of knowing that I could go for, you know, a 3-mile run, or I can piece together a 22-mile run and it's like right there.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I kind of miss that. I'm going to miss my regular running routes in the Santa Monica's and those types of things. I'm not going to miss the sun, not going to miss the heat. I don't think I will anyways.
Yeah, we're leaving at the right time because we're transitioning into the summer months where the heat just gets cranked up to 11. And all the beautiful pictures that we posted over the last few months of the lush green trails, those are gone. Like those lasted a month, really. I mean, they're incredible. The Southern California after rainstorms, green nature is incredible. But as soon as it starts turning into summer, it dissipates. For me, it's going to be the connection to the entertainment industry. As far as I'm concerned, there's no other city that you could be looking across a Starbucks and you'll see Patton Oswalt sitting next to 6 other people who are writing their latest movie script, sitting next to Dolph Lundgren. You know, you basically can be in any destination and everyone around you is somehow connected to the entertainment industry. And I will tell you right now, it's so palpable. It's incredible how much of a connection this entire city has to the entertainment industry, whether it's film, television, commercial, all of it. I will miss that. I will miss the ability to pick up my phone and call someone and work on a project almost at the drop of a hat, because we have equipment, we have ideas, we have the manpower. I'm going to miss that. There happens to be a great community in Seattle that I'm fully aware of and plugged into, and a great list of resources of people who are willing to help. But man, LA, there's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like the entertainment industry here. And it's addicting. It's pretty cool. But I will not miss sitting in my car for 8 hours a day going to 7 different auditions across the city, hoping maybe one of them you'll book and find out that you don't. And you feel like you waste weeks and weeks and weeks, but then you book something and you think the world's going to change, and all of a sudden you go for another 7-week stint of not booking. It's the grind. That's the LA grind.
Geek with a side of nerd asks, will you hit the improv scene in Seattle?
I grew up in the improv scene in Seattle. It's not huge. LA's improv scene is much, much bigger. But yeah, I just did a show there when I was visiting last week, getting the keys. I just did. So yeah, hopefully. I say let's get into your viewer mail, to your questions and your amazing stories and inspiration. We talk about it on these episodes, which we don't do as often as we'd always liked. So I say, let's turn the show around and make it about them. Cool. We're going to start with, what happened to your computer?
I don't know.
Did your computer die? No.
Weird.
That is weird. When did that happen? Kim's computer just went to sleep. She didn't leave the chat room. Go ahead. I'm going to pull up the viewer mail here. All right. So we're going to be quite late because this email came in at the last viewer mail,
Okay.
but we can always provide advice after the events already took place, as promised. So this comes from Junk Food Runners. I'm running my first ultra in less than 5 weeks, the Gorge Waterfalls 50K. Do you have any advice for me since you've run the race twice? Also, what kind of light setup do you have for your studio? Sorry if I get greedy with 2 questions. Great questions. It looks like Junk Food Runners also has their own podcast, so good job, Brandon. But do we have any advice for the Gorge Waterfalls 50K? I'm happy to provide some advice, as I'm sure you would be, and we can talk about the studio and the lighting setup and stuff like that.
I will say that Gorge 50K.
It's already taken place, so they probably already finished this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I've run it once. I've crewed and filmed you once. And it's one of those races that I'm like itching to get back to. It's one of those races I definitely want to do again. I will say the bottleneck at the start.
Always. Yeah. But the 50K specifically.
Yeah. It's inevitable. Just kind of get in where you think you should be hanging. Otherwise you're going to get stuck.
Yes. If you go out too fast, you will get stuck and have to pull over a lot as people want to pass you, because it goes basically from a fire road to a single track in less than a quarter of a mile. So try to find a consistent pace of like rolling steep hills early. And
my other advice is know the elevation and know what's happening in the last X amount of
10 miles. I think it's the last 10 miles. It's a backloaded course.
Yeah.
It gets good the last 10 miles. I mean, gorgeous. But understand that there is a 2-mile climb or 2 or 3 mile climb that is bonkers towards the end. You were doing switchbacks, and the switchbacks have numbers, and there's tourists. So just know that towards the end of that race, there is a really tough climb and a brutally fast descent on semi-paved paths. So it's going to be harsh on your feet. So just be prepared for that.
And depending on the time of day you arrive there and what the weather is doing, you could be fighting through tourists.
Yeah, if it's sunny, you'll have tourists. Even if it's not, you will. And there's one race where at the top I was running through snow, and at the bottom it was 75 degrees. Right. So you'll never know, because you're in the gorge between Washington and Oregon. As far as the studio setup, this is pretty minimal, guys. And when I do the 360 later, I'll show you exactly what we're dealing with. But they're clamp lamps. They're real basic clamp lamps with fluorescent bulbs, and the bulb brightness, I don't know off the top of my head, but the wattages are different for each light depending on where it is. It's what I've used since the beginning of GingerRunner. It's fine. When we move into our new place up in Seattle, the goal is to use these same things if the space will allow, because it's also a small space, but we'll figure out a way to do it, and I'll happily do a studio tour up there too.
And I'll get my own actual set.
Yeah, Kim actually gets to have her own set, because right now her set is just,
I'm just like not happy with it.
Yeah, Kim never was happy with it, but we always knew it was temporary.
Yeah.
Until we moved into a space that could actually allow it. Yeah. Moving on. All right. This comes to us from Kyle Fitzgerald. It's a little bit longer, but he apologizes for that up front, which is totally fine, Kyle. Hey, Ginger, apologies for the length of this email, injury related. Totally fine. This is the first time that I've ever done one of these viewer mails or comment type of things, but sometimes in a situation in running, things change. I'm also long-winded whenever I write. First things first, I'm a huge fan of yours. I ran my first marathon in 2015 at the New York City Marathon, and I watched your videos almost every day to pump me up for it. Like most people's first marathons, mine didn't go as planned. Details involve stool of my own and a bird, vomit, and some other stuff. Oh boy. But other than that, it was a great day. A couple weeks ago, during a 10-mile run, during a recovery week for the Liverpool Rock and Roll Marathon in May, I live in London now for grad school, I felt a jamming sensation in my left thigh. After an MRI, I was confirmed today that I have a bone stress fracture. Not yet a stress fracture. Sorry, I added that since I caught it early. But he's out for 3 weeks more, and I cannot run a marathon that I thought he had been training about and thinking about every day since he signed up for it on November 1st. It's not just the fact that I can't run the marathon that's heartbreaking. It's that I can't run and enjoy being outside. My favorite part of my long run was being outside. I'd run along the Regent Canal through Regent Green, St. James Park, alongside the Thames. I know I always pronounce that wrong. And by Parliament and through Hyde Park. I've been through Hyde Park. It's beautiful. Of course, we runners always have a couple of bad runs, but I'm always grateful for every opportunity I have to run. Running is one of the most important activities in my life because it makes me happy, because I get to be outside and thank the day and say hello to the ducks as I pass by them. I love the sensation of my hair getting damp and breathing in the crisp air. For now, at least, it's gone. I spent months creating a solid training base, but I just did too much at a time of running, walking, gym, tennis, yoga, because I think I'm invincible. Don't tell me that I'm not. It's been a tough couple of weeks for me, and I'm devastating not to be able to run that marathon. But when I return, I want to find more reasons to love running, and I know they're out there. I'll be readjusting my running schedule to crush the Liverpool half, which I'm going to run in place of the full. And every session, I'm going to run my ass off because nothing will keep me down. My PR for a half is 1:41, 1 hour, 41 minutes. I want to bring that down to at least 1 hour and 40 minutes at the Liverpool. Keep up all the great vids. The quality has vastly improved, and it's always a great joy for me to watch your reviews, progress, and immersion of the running community. Thank you as an order as well for helping me through the New York Marathon and for all the days I didn't want to run. And thanks in advance for helping me get back in shape after this injury. Much love. First of all, Kyle, I hope that the race went well. I know that it's been weeks now since this was sent back right before the last viewer mail. So I hope that the race went well. Please keep us posted on that. Let us know through the grapevine, through social media, or through another email or something like that.
There's a lot of people like shaking their head in agreement that they've been there. They hate those kinds of injuries.
Completely. Yeah. I was dealing with one of those injuries too recently. I've had an ankle sprain recently, which is one of those similar types of injuries where it just takes you out. You have to stop. You've had injuries like that with your ankle and stuff like that. They're common. They suck. And I guarantee you, I don't know how much of a running community you have near you, or if you have a group of people that you run with on a regular basis or anything like that. But if you do, it is awesome to be able to have other people that you can go, oh, I'm dealing with this. And they'll just go, I know what you're going through. You know, having someone help you get through that, even if you can't run at all, having someone or people who know and can relate. And that's also what's great about this community. We might live across the world from you, but this story, as I'm reading it, I'm nodding going, this is very common. Yeah. We've gotten emails on the show hundreds of times with this very similar situation. Best advice for anyone who suffers an injury like this, because there will be people that it happens to in the future. Do not worry. You will be back. And it's a matter of just waiting until you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to be patient. The last thing you want to do is push too hard too early and set yourself back even further, because then you're going to regret it. And then it's going to be this downward spiral of just anger and disappointment. Take your time. Be patient with it. Let the injury fully heal and gradually work your way back in. It will be exponentially better.
I'm with it. I'm in agreement.
I'm with it.
I'm with it.
I'm with it.
Jesse Murray says pronounced Thames.
Thames. I always want to say Thames.
Right.
Or Thames.
Or Thames.
Thames. The Thames River. All right. This one comes to us from Caitlin. Dear Ethan, Kim, and little puppy Gus.
Oh,
that's really cute. I wanted to share my marathon disaster story because maybe it will help out someone who went through something similar. So I decided to run my first marathon after the Boston Marathon attacks. At the time, I was only running OCRs, but as a local I'm going to get this one wrong, Massachusettsian, the attacks at home. I made a goal to run a marathon by the time I turned 20. I was 16 at the time. Running has been the love of my life, but I often believe the feeling is not mutual. I battled with chronic knee pain for the first 3 years of running until I decided to recover and take a year off at 17 years old. Then at 18, a couple of months before I turned 19, I remembered my goal to run a marathon. I started training hard and got my first placement medal in a 10K, but I pushed too hard and wore myself out. Undertrained, I ran the New Bedford half marathon 3 months after my 10K and failed miserably. Then I found Ginger Runner by actually watching Kim's movie. It inspired me to start working hard and achieve this soon-to-be 4-year goal of mine. So I started training, but again, pushed too hard and developed an IT band strain and had to drop out of 3 training races, 2 half marathons and then a 10K. I rested for 2 months until I felt better and started cramming in my marathon training. As you may be able to tell, I have never been very good at dealing with injuries, and I never understood when to hold back and to when to actually rest. I trained up to the 20 miles, then developed a foot injury and had to drop out of my marathon that was 2 months away. I was devastated, but by the time I knew that my body couldn't take any more pushing because I could barely walk around campus with my injury, it was the first injury that made me step back and actually think, I love to run, but my overall health is worth so much more. I turned 20 this past January, and it was tough letting the goal go, but I know it's for the best. Now, my new goal is to train for my first marathon over the course of this year and a half to even 2 years if I need to. What I learned from running the past 6 to 8 years is that even though I love to run, injuries are serious, and I can't try to train for a marathon in 3 months coming off of an injury. It's just not smart. I'm excited to train for my first marathon again, but I am excited to enjoy the process more than to force it. I apologize for my longness. Sincerely, a fellow ginger runner, Caitlin. Again, this is an experience. This is a story that many people have dealt. I still deal with this, with my adductor injury that I'm going through right now. Yep. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I can do a 20, 25 miler today. And then the next day you go, that just makes things a little angry. And you know that you have to pull back again.
But I feel like she's like very smart.
She's figured it out.
She's figured it out now.
Caitlin, I'm really excited to follow along with this journey. If you could keep us posted and keep us updated over the next year and a half or so. Can't wait to hear which marathon you choose, and take your time. You hear and read stories about people who train for their first marathon. I mean, there's a YouTube video that has millions of views, and it drove me crazy. It's great. It's inspiring, but it also drove me crazy because it's this girl, I believe, that works at BuzzFeed that trained for her first marathon in, I think, 6 weeks. Or 8, it's something whatever the title is, it's very buzzworthy. What you find out is that her first week, they had her running over 40 miles. Their coach that they brought in had her running over 40 miles in her first week of training. Yeah, you're going to be able to finish a marathon if you start running 40 miles a week and then work your way up from there.
If you're lucky enough not to get injured.
If you're lucky enough not to get injured. So
that's crazy.
It's
I did like a 44-mile week this week, and that felt, I know that's probably like small to some of you guys, but like to me that's a hard week.
What sucks is that you read the like to dislike ratio is incredible. The engagement on it is incredible. The comments are great. I mean, yes, it's inspiring because this girl never thought she could do this. And I'm a big fan of that. But there's this side of it where how many people are going to be watching this going, I can train for a marathon in 6 weeks. And next thing you know, it develops a rage hate for running because someone gets injured and then they think that they can't do it. Right. So it kind of, I guess it's a dangerous video in the sense that it can lead people down the wrong path of health and wellness for long-term and longevity. So with Caitlin, this is fantastic because Caitlin has learned that very lesson of trying to do too much too soon. You just need to be patient. Everybody's body is different. Everyone's health is different. Yeah,
and Caitlin's also very young. Still, we have Wing in the chat room. Wing Taylor says, I ran my first marathon at 44 years old, so she has some time.
And I tell you, we all get better with age. You know, you'll see people just crushing it in their late 40s, 50s.
Especially women, you guys.
Women
I'm looking
amazing.
Forward to getting older so I can be a better runner or maybe qualify for Boston.
I mean, women get better than men with age. Yeah. And it's pretty awesome. All right, let's move on. This is from Jimmy. Ethan, Kim, and I love that people are including Gus in this. I think it's fantastic. Ethan, Kim, and Gus. I'm not really sure why I'm writing this. My story is neither particularly special nor is it very inspiring. I guess as much as anything, I just wanted to tell you how much I love all of the videos and to say thank you for them. There have been so many that have given me inspiration and motivation. Like I said, there's anything really special about my story. I'm 46 to be 47 in June. I ran track in middle school, middle distance, and was a decent, even won a race or two and ran a 10K. But I played other sports, so I didn't pursue running any further. I ran off and on from then on, but never consistently and never anything over a few miles. After getting married right after college, no offense, Kim, but she's the most amazing woman on the planet. She just is. Not you, but I think so. I think you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And having a beautiful in every way daughter, there wasn't much of any running for a long time. Fast forward several years to 2011. I started running a little bit and a little more consistently, and a friend convinced me to run a half marathon in spring of 2012. I trained what I thought was a good amount, but had some IT band issues. Very similar story to what we just read. IT issues that derailed part of it. I ran a decent time for my first half at 1:54:12. I ran a little bit more after that, but eventually just slacked off and then quit entirely. Fast forward again to the late summer of 2014. I looked down at a scale one day and realized I had to do something. I was not what most people would have considered hugely overweight, but I knew I needed to lose some of it. So I started running again, and to my surprise, I started to enjoy it. And over several months, wound up losing close to 30 pounds and have managed to keep it off. In early December of 2014, my mom passed away. She had not been in great health for a few years, but her passing was certainly unexpected. I went to stay with my dad, and we had to wait a few days for the funeral to give my family some time, etc., to get there. After a day or two, my dad and both got tired of sitting. My dad and I both got tired of sitting around, so he went to the gym to work out. He had just turned 80, so yeah. And I went for a run, and I just kept running. I wound up running 10 miles that day, the longest since 2012, and it felt great. I'm still trying to process how my mom's passing may have influenced and may still be influencing my running, if at all. Anyway, I signed up for another half right after that. That race was a disaster in a lot of ways, but I still managed a PR of 1:51:55. After the race, I realized I was in probably as good a shape as I had ever been and was almost 45. So if I was ever going to run a marathon, this was the time. So I signed up for the one in town that I grew up in. I trained pretty well for it being my first one, and at the age of 45, I ran 3:50:13. It was in training for that race that I discovered the Ginger Runner. And as I said before, your videos have been a source of inspiration and motivation. I decided after that first marathon that I wanted to eventually run Boston. I ran another half in the spring of 2016, set another PR of 1:41:26. That race helped me realize I was making progress and that the BQ time might eventually be possible. I signed up for another marathon for late fall 2016. As I trained for that race, I came to realize that a Boston qualifier just wasn't realistic yet, but that a significant PR was. So I trained, and 11 months after my first marathon, I came in at 3:29:56, a PR of over 20 minutes. I've decided that I really want to qualify for Boston. I'm 50, so I'm going to train as hard as I can for my next marathon, and it's going to be real great to give a Boston qualifier time a go. I haven't decided when or where that will be exactly, but that's the goal. And I know the Ginger Runner will be there to help me get there. Ethan, I just recently watched the podcast you did with Stage Kennedy back in November, and I really enjoyed it. As a CPA that's been in accounting for over 25 years, I can honestly say that you made a great decision to steer away from accounting. I mentioned that in the podcast I did with Sage. I was in business school in college. I was going to be an accountant until I took accounting.
I can't imagine you as an accountant.
Well, I wanted to go into business, but part of the business degree at the University of Washington was to take accounting. Guess who doesn't know how to do accounting? This guy. The one class I actually was going to fail, so I dropped before I got it.
But you know how many slices of pizza are in a large pizza, right? Those are your number skills right there.
I eat all of them, so
no. Half.
Also, my family and I used to love playing Scene It, so thanks for your work on that. That's right. I used to help design a board game called Scene It. As I've said, I love watching your videos. I've never watched the show live, but I've watched several of them after the fact on YouTube and really enjoy them. And of course, I love the reviews. Congrats to Kim on Lake Sonoma, by the way.
Thank you.
Sorry this was so long. Hopefully you were able to stay awake through. Just kidding. All the best, Jimmy. P.S. I certainly don't expect you to, but if you were to read this on the show, which I just did, if you could not use my, he doesn't want me to use his last name, which I did not do. I didn't even read that part, so I'm glad.
Oh, that's good.
I'd really appreciate it. I'd like to stay as anonymous as I can. Thanks again for all you do, Jimmy. You're quite welcome for not using your last name, but also. You say at the very beginning, it's nothing special. Your story's nothing special. The truth is, everyone's journey is special because everyone can relate. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if you start running for one particular reason or another. It doesn't matter where you are on your journey. If there's anything that I really want this channel to prove and to show people is that it doesn't matter where you are.
Right.
What just matters is that you believe in yourself and you believe that you have the ability to get where you need to go.
It's such like a human nature, is that right? Human nature thing to say, like, oh, my story's not special, so it doesn't deserve to be told, or I don't like, it's not worthy of being shared, but I always feel like it always is.
Yep.
So.
It always is.
Mm-hmm.
Someone out there might be able to relate to that. And it's pretty awesome, man, to hear you make such an incredible improvement on just a PR, which seems so small, right? Like, you're like, oh, well, I improved my time, but it's not my goal. Like, my goal is a Boston qualifier. But the truth is, you shaved 20 minutes off of your marathon from one to the other within less than a year, which is incredible. And that's the kind of thing that people need to hear. We need to hear normal people relaying stories that will inspire normal people, because we can relate to elites. They're incredible. What they do is beyond comprehension a lot of the time. But I think what makes this channel special, and a lot of the stories that we try to tell, especially on the show, is normalizing everything, because we all just need to be able to relate a little bit. Lots more mail to go. How's the chat room?
Chat room's great. We were just talking about age, and there was myself and a couple other women in the chat room were talking about getting older was our Boston qualifying strategy.
That was our strategy. It still is. I would love to qualify for Boston, but it's going to just be like, just getting older. People
are talking about age and running, and Ellen Giddens in the chat room says, my grandparents love to walk 5Ks to win their age group. 90 and 93 years old. Pretty much undefeated on the charity walk circuit. Aging is a great strategy.
I thought
that was pretty cool.
That is awesome. Oh, I want to be 90, 92, and I want to be able to do this sort of thing.
There was an elderly couple that runs Big Sur every year, and I don't know if they're still doing it because it's been a while since we've actually been there, but the 2 years that I ran it, I happened to see them, and they were the cutest old couple, and I just adored them.
Kim made a note of them because you ran a lot of it with them, not like talking to them, but like right behind them or right in front of them. And so we made a point of finding out who they were, and they'd run it like every year
or something like that.
And
I think it was like Bob and Betsy.
Bob and Betsy sounds familiar. Bob and Barb or something like that. Life goals.
Yeah.
I have an incredible video from Alyssa. Alyssa Duncan gave us this video of a ginger runner rap with her in Nepal, like up in the Himalayas. I can't show it because our computers are failing miserably. But trust me,
you should save it.
I'm going to save it. Yeah, I'll save it. Yeah. Maybe I'll include it in one of the videos that I make this week. Regardless, it's really cool. So trust me, it's really neat. But speaking of the Himalayas, of course, Kilian Jornet, just absolutely incredible. Double summit of Everest.
I like how his second summit was just like totally casual, like, oh, Kilian summited Everest again.
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
There's some really great comments from people saying like, oh, he needed to get his hill repeats in before UTMB. It's like, well, maybe that's what that could have been his thought process is, well, I'm already at base camp. I should get another attempt in. I got UTMB in a couple months. All right, moving on. This is from Dylan. Hey, Kim and Ethan, need some advice. Just agreed to pace my wife's friend during a 100-miler at the end of July. I've never paced anybody, and I do 99.9% of my running alone. What kind of tips do you guys have for pacing people? Excuse me. What kind of tips do you guys have for pacing people? I don't know her very well, which initially sounds like we'd have a lot to talk about, but I'm terrible at conversations and communicating. Here's the thing with being a pacer. Talking less is actually okay.
If that's what your runner wants.
If that's what your runner wants. Yeah. So here's the first step you should do is meet and sit down with this person and find out what they want. If they're running, pacing my friends during 100-mile. Okay, so I'm not sure if it's their first 100-miler or if it's one that they're doing
one of many.
One of many. Yeah. If it's one of many, then they probably already have an idea of what they want out of you. As a pacer, your job is to be 100% positive from the very get-go. You do not want to talk about how are your feet doing. You don't want to even like pinpoint to the things that are possible problems, unless it's the problems that you need to be dealing with when you get into aid stations and stuff like that. If you have conversations, you need to keep it 100% positive all the time. You're doing great. You look awesome. You're eating your food exactly when you need to. You're doing fantastic. So there's ways of taking negative things of like they're not eating food and turning it into a positive of like, oh, I just saw you eat food. Nice job. Nice work. Just keeping things really simple and really positive. But make sure you communicate with this runner, because they're going to be able to dictate of whether or not they even like that. Because there might be a runner that's like, just shut up.
like, you know me well enough. I think that, you know, when we're on long runs and I'm not having a great run, I'm just like, I don't
know.
want to talk. Like,
Yeah.
I think you think I'm mad at you, but I'm not mad at you. I just don't like, I don't want a cheerleader.
Yeah.
I just like I like having you there,
Mm-hmm.
but I just like.
I know pretty quickly if for some reason I'm like, oh, how you feeling, or how's that thing, or what are you thinking of the tailwind right now, or whatever, and Kim goes, it's fine. Like if it's short answers, I know. Shut up. I can talk at her,
Right.
So I can tell a story or that sort of thing, or make a joke and talk at her. But there's often times where I can tell she doesn't even want to engage, right? She's just so focused on moving forward that all I need to do is just be there. That's enough.
But I think meeting with the person that your runner, meeting with them and finding out what they want from you is really important. And some runners are very specific. Run ahead of me, run beside me, run behind me, don't talk to me, tell me jokes, sing to me. Like, everybody has their thing. But I think for me with you during Cascade, keeping you alive was priority.
Yeah,
but
keep
also
your runner alive.
Keeping an eye on your nutrition at that point, at later stages in an ultra.
It's going to have to be an organic thing. I mean, it's not going to be cut or dry for us to be able to tell you right now what's going to happen, because we don't know who this runner is, and we obviously don't know their behavior. So it's going to be organic in the sense that you're going to have to feel it out, and you'll have to feel it out at every aid station, and you'll have to just know whether or not you need to keep an eye on their nutrition or keep an eye on certain things. But your goal is going to be as organic as possible. And I think the last piece of advice would be, this is not your race. This is not about you.
Right. So if you're cold and you're getting like when I was with Ethan, I was definitely cold. I was definitely wet, and I was definitely miserable. But you never bring that up to your runner.
Take care of yourself.
Right.
But it's not about you.
Right.
So if you are cold, go get a jacket. If you, this happens all the time. Like, Gary paced me. Gary took care of himself. So Gary was by no means being super sacrificial for everything just to make sure that my race was done. He was taking care of himself, but he wasn't bringing it into my game.
And I did the same.
And and Kim of course did the same thing, but it was never about them, right? So it can't be about you. I've heard stories of pacers wanting to get a section done faster so they would push their runner. And there might be times when you can push your runner, there might be times when you don't, but not to get your own CR on a certain segment of a mountain, because you're like, don't be selfish. The whole fact that you've been asked to be a pacer is an honor, because they want you to be a part of their journey. It just needs to be about them. I'm not saying that, by the way, I wasn't with Tim, but I obviously don't know you as a runner, so I'm not saying this is you. I'm saying I've heard stories of people doing this, and you hear it and you go, what kind of pacer would be so self-indulgent that all they care about is their own splits and their own mileage that day? And that's not what it's about.
Or they're complaining about how they feel.
Yeah, they're complaining about, oh God, I feel I'm bonking. It's like, you don't even mention bonking. You just don't. Moving on. This is from Tim. Dear Ethan and Kim, a quick note of thanks to both of you for the inspiration and content that you guys present on your channels. Last year, I started running after a 5-year hiatus. Last month, I ran my first marathon on London, finishing in 4 hours and 11 minutes. You have a special impact on people's lives and yet remain so humble. Thank you. Regards, Tim. That's awesome. Way to make it, way to come back after 5-year hiatus. I love that.
That's to me, that's a fast time.
Yeah, 4:11, that's pretty good. And at London, which I don't think is a notoriously fast course. I think it has some hills, and I know that it has bridges, but also it's a huge spectator event too. And so you really just kind of want to absorb that. And 4:11 is fantastic. Nice job, Tim. And appreciate the compliments. Really, really appreciate it. Again, this is a community. And that's what we've learned since day one, as the community began to build and build and build, that it was never about one person or one achievement. It's about the cohesive, and kind of what we've created here is just this community of incredibly inspiring things. We have people that are a part of this community that are winning races, that are rocking 150-mile weeks. And we have people a part of this community who are running or training for their very first 5K. And it doesn't matter how good or how slow, what size you are. It doesn't matter. Everyone is on, again, just kind of going back to that same path. everyone is on their own path, their own journey. And what's cool is that we're all sharing in that celebration of the uniqueness rather than the competitive nature of it.
Comment from Raul in the chat room. He says, "My long legs and ginger runner. You guys should do a video spoof on the worst pacer ever." Or we can just let it play out at Cascade this year.
Oh, catch this. I don't want to drop it to the floor. Catch. Oh, mic drop. Oh. Sorry, guys. Mom can't catch. Moving on. It was a good mic drop.
I actually heard because that fell off onto my.
Speaking of, you okay?
Broken wrist.
Look what fell. The Cascade Crest buckle holder. Oh, babe.
Is that a bad omen?
No, you're gonna do great. I actually don't know where that even came from. Oh my God, it did.
How did that even happen?
Wow. That's Cascade Crest going, you don't joke about Cascade Crest. You don't joke about it.
Everybody's getting angry at me in the chat room. Hashtag mom can't catch.
Does Kim need to go sit on a cooler again? Do we need to take Kim's bench away? Take Kim's chair? Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, moving on. This is from Aaron. Hey, Ethan and Kim. I've got a story that actually fits both categories for the show tonight. Inspiration, as well as personal stories. Recent race and overcoming doubt. Earlier this month, I was registered for my very first trail race and had been looking forward to it for several months. 8 days out. Sorry. I'm just so caught off guard. 8 days out, I started running a high fever and having a sore throat. It already sounds like taper crazies. Got on antibiotics for strep, but the fever didn't quite break until 3 days pre-race. Even without the sickness, I knew this was going to be a challenging race for me, and I had to think long and hard about dropping the event. Eventually, I decided to be brave and give it a shot anyways. Even if I utterly failed, I wanted to be able to tell myself that I had tried, rather than given up before things even started. The course was beautiful. The volunteers and other races were ridiculously nice. Was not expecting that much of a difference from road racing. And I finished 9 miles of the 13.1 before having to call it quits. As hard as it was, I had a great time, and I'm excited to go back next year and do this thing for real. I wanted to thank you both, your guests on GRL, and the whole GR community for being so consistently encouraging. It's a lot easier to fight down that voice that says, I can't, when there's a whole team of people sharing stories of courage and triumph. You rock. Aaron, you rock. And I love that this popped up right after talking about what we just talked about, because I agree the community is great at saying, if you are saying I can't, they're there to tell you that you can. And especially when it comes to, like, we talked about injury tonight, we talked about now sickness. There are certainly wild cards that can come in and influence a race or training that are outside of your control. And those can easily throw a curveball, a monkey wrench into the training plan or the race execution, that sort of thing. So look at it this way. And it looks like you already are. You didn't DNF a race. You actually ran 9 miles sick. And that's pretty amazing, because there have been many races where I've been sick that week and gone, I'm not running. And you just need to stay home and rest, and it's for the best. But you managed to crank out 9 trail miles while sick with strep. It's pretty good.
Oof.
Yeah. But thank you. But yeah, the community is always going to be there to support you, and that's what I love about it too. Nice. We got an email from Tom, regular viewer of the show, plus a really big winner in the Patreon crew gear giveaway. Which
most of you guys should be getting your stuff by now. If you haven't received it, it will be getting to you in the next day or so.
For those maybe who aren't aware, to support the channel, to support the show, we have a thing called Patreon. I talk about it every week, but patreon.com/thegingerrunner for as little as $1 a month. It keeps the lights on. It allows us to do this show full time. And one thing that we did very recently for all of our Patreon members at a certain level and above, we did a huge gear giveaway. So we gave away, I think we did the math, I think it was close to $4,000 worth of gear, which is just amazing. So those of you who won those pieces of gear, you will be receiving them very soon. All of the packages have gone out now.
Yes.
All right. So this is from Tom. Hey, Ethan and Kim. Hope this finds you both well. Your videos and those of other runners like Gary Robbins, training leading up to Barkley, etc. Jameel Curry, the Steep Life vlog, have inspired me to document the final 100 days of training leading up to the Transalpine run in September. I have been putting together a daily vlog that documents my training and will follow my adventures leading up to the race. Trying to muster my inner ginger runner, but talking to the camera is very awkward for me. Any tips? Does it get easier as I continue to produce content? Look forward to any advice and tips that you might have. I put a link to the first episode and would love for you guys to check it out. I'll check it out. Trying to make it inspirational and family friendly. Would love if you shared it with your audience and with your audience and follow along with the adventures. Yeah, of course, man. I can either throw it into the link of this video. I believe. Let's see. I'm just gonna pull up the YouTube channel. Just have everyone just go to the YouTube channel. Thomas Tryloff, the YouTube channel. So it's Thomas, Thomas, and Tryloff, Trieloff, and follow along as he's training for the Transalpine. But as far as talking to the camera, that's a great question.
I struggle with that.
It is not easy. As someone who I've spent most of my life, a majority of my life now, public speaking, performing in front of live audiences, talking to cameras, acting, performing, and there are certain elements like this. The show is great and easy because I'm looking at a tiny little dot, and I'm sitting next to my wife, and I get to interview people. So I don't feel any pressure. So right now it's easy. But when I'm out vlogging, that's why I hated vlogging when I was doing it in a former life. But while I'm doing it with Ginger Runner stuff, with the Ginger Bits vlogs, I really don't like it. I don't like pulling the camera out and talking to it a lot of the time. While I'm racing, you'll notice, if you go back through any of my race videos, most of the time that I'm talking to camera, I'm alone. Because those are the times when I can actually think through the thoughts, to formulate the sentences and the verbiage that I want to get across. A lot of the time, if I'm running with other people, I'm so focused on not talking to other people, or maybe I'm deep in conversation, so I'm not even thinking about pulling out the camera. But if I'm having a rough go, I know what's going on with my body, but I don't really want to talk about it in front of other people. So I'll wait until I'm alone and I'll pull up the camera and I'll be able to succinctly get across my thoughts. So that's helped me a lot. But as far as the daily vlogging, the daily life stuff where I'm out in a public place, it's tough. It's difficult for me. So, I mean, if you really want tips on how to be a better engager of on-camera sort of stuff, I would highly recommend taking either public speaking classes, improv classes, or any sort of like basic acting class, just something that you are performing or doing stuff in front of people.
And you've recommended that to me, and I'm such a shy introvert that even thinking, I understand why you recommended it to me, and I know it would help me, but even thinking about going to those gives me the worst anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think one of the most useful pieces of advice you've given to me for recording in here for my videos is to pretend so-and-so is standing there and you're just chatting to them, and that you're just talking directly to them, and that's been helpful to me. But I'm definitely still in the baby learning phase of the amount I record and how long it takes me to record and edit down is exponentially huge compared to when you're in here recording your stuff.
Yeah, I will say it gets easier. The more you do it, it does get a little bit easier. And watch Kim's channel. As she starts doing more content over the next year, you can go back and watch her first video and things will be different. Kim's confidence in front of the camera will be vastly different than it was on day one. But I still your day one video is way better than 99% of most people's day one video in front of camera. And that's with zero camera experience and hosting and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's because you maybe have listened to me for years.
But it's intimidating living with someone like you who you just seem so natural and so easy. And I get in here and part of me doesn't want you to hear me because it's I feel embarrassed, but that's the whole the stuff that I need to just get over.
Fake it before you make it.
I think another piece of advice is to, and I'm working on this still very, very much, but is to let go of worrying about what other people are going to think of your finished product.
Yep.
It's a hard thing to do, but it's definitely something to think about and to work on.
Yeah, because you're opening yourself up to a lot of criticism. I deal with it every day on my channel. I have people that come in and offer advice or their own opinions on whether it's a product I'm reviewing or my films or whatever. Obviously, every one of my videos, live shows, everything, it gets a thumbs down. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 20. It just does, because people are out there purely to deliver hate in a sense. They want to feel that control over that. And if they see a video that has 0 dislikes, they're more, I'm just going to dislike it. So dealing with that is also one of the difficult parts of it, is putting yourself out there in a place where you are being judged in a sense, and being okay with that, or not caring, I guess. I stopped caring in 2009, before gingerrun. I stopped caring what people said.
But you have like a long history of
hate.
No, but like you have a long history of doing videos and putting yourself out there, and you have the improv history and that kind of stuff. So, you know, that still took a number of years for you to like turn that off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And what's hard is for me to see Kim's channel and see people come in and tell you how to do things, men particularly, on how to review women's gear. It's always really interesting to be like, how do these people sleep at night?
That's definitely been the most bizarre thing.
It's bizarre.
It's almost always been men that have been critical on my channel. And my question is always like, well, like,
what are you doing?
Why are you here?
Why are you here? If all you want to see is naughty bits, it's you're never going to get it. And if all you want to...
Hey, when you're reviewing that sports bra, you should really run in front of the camera with it. It's like,
oh my God, these are real things.
No.
It's crazy.
Sir.
All right, this is from Scout. What's up, Scout? Hey, Ethan, I hope the moving and preparation is going well. Similar to you, I've been managing an injury which started from a gnarly fall that is only just finally seeming to cooperate, for which I am super grateful. It changed my plans for the Jack Bristol 100K a few weeks back. Being a loop course, I knew that I could bow out early if I needed to, and I swore to myself that I would do nothing overtly stubborn or stupid. That being said, I surprised myself that I stuck by that promise and called my race after 50K. I was bummed at the fact that I had to shorten my race, but I quickly was able to refocus and figure out what was good, what could help me stay stoked and focused moving forward. The fact was, my speed training is starting to pay off. My easy pace is about 2 minutes faster per mile than it was in the last couple of years, over which I've gotten slower, less focused, and gained some pounds. Other than the injury, I felt solid throughout, and that was awesome. The day itself was beautiful, and the folks volunteering and running the race were fantastic. This was not my A race. It was designed to be a shakeout, taking stock to decide what I needed to focus on in the last couple of months leading up to my A race, which is the Vermont 100. I ran it last year and had some shoe issues for the first 40+ miles that wrecked my feet, making the back half pretty slow and rough. This year, I want to go sub 24 hours, and I think that is possible. I'm running as a charity runner like I did last year, and in the solo uncrewed division, also like I did last year. Honestly, my training feels great. I'm mostly just stressing out to meet my fundraising goals, but I remember being stressed out about that last year, and I managed to meet them at the very end. Bake sales and other stuff like that, which helped me pull it all together. Ultimately, I raised just over $1,000 for Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sports, and this year I'm hoping to raise $1,200. I'm more than halfway there. So grateful for this community, and proud to be a Patreon supporter. What you've created is nothing short of magic, and in the moments that you have anxiety or doubt about your own abilities, I hope that you can think about this community and find strength within it. I'm just a participant, and I know I appreciate it. If you have any interest in reading the long form of my race report, complete with pictures, fancy, the link is below in my signature. Thanks for creating this space, Ethan and Kim and Gus. Peace. Thank you, Scout. Really appreciate it. Scout's been a Patreon supporter here for a while, and it was great. I just saw that her email popped in today as well, which is fantastic. I hope Vermont goes amazing. Please let us know how it goes. Give us the full race report. I love hearing stories about 100-mile races, whether it's a person's first or they have a goal going back to in this case, it was a sub 24-hour goal, which I'm really excited to see if that pans out. But this is also a great recap of how you can suffer an injury, but also work your way back and in a way, make a deal with yourself of she had a 100K race, but she was able to make the goals separate because of the injury. So she did 50K and she still managed to get a good training run out of it and not break her body in the process, and worked out quite well. So that's fantastic. Let's see if I can pull up one more here. This is from Jamie. Hey, Ethan and Kim, thanks for taking the time to read this email. My name is Jamie Stewart, and I live in the northeast end of Scotland. I have been watching you guys for a few years now and love the fact that you both inspire so many people to get out and run. Your stories and videos are so inspiring and have motivated me to get out and inspire as many people as I can to become more active or maybe even become a runner. This year, I have set myself a challenge of running every day for an entire year, running at least 5K a day. When I go about day... What's up? Scout. Oh, what did I say? I'm sorry. I said her. Yeah, his. Does I have an idea of any more people? There we go. When I got to about day 50, I had this idea of inviting people along to run with me. As I write this, I'm currently on day 113 and have run with over 70 different people, ranging from 10 years old all the way up to people in their 50s. Beginners to keen runners have all joined me on runs. I have just been featured on the front page of a local newspaper because of all of these amazing people that I've had the pleasure of running with and gotten in touch with them and told them that what I was doing. The response from my local community has been incredible, to the point that I have people to run with nearly every day. Also, new people keep getting in touch with me to come on runs with me. Oh, and maybe one day I'll get the chance to come to the US and run with both of you as part of the challenge. Lol, you never know. I started a Facebook page called Run With Style, where I post daily, giving a shout out to all the amazing people that I run with, and I have a run with that day. I also have a YouTube channel where I post different runs that I go on to show of the beautiful country where I live, and hopefully give more people inspiration to get out and run. Thank you both again for reading this email. I really appreciate it. You both do so much for the running community, and I hope I can play a small part of it as well. All the very best for many adventures you guys have coming up. Many thanks, Jamie. That's awesome. I love hearing that.
I was gonna say, I love hearing like all these messages.
Doing daily. I tried to start this year doing run streak. So this year, January 1st, I was like, you know what? I want to try just running a mile a day. It is really hard to do a run streak, and it's running is my life. Like, that's all I want to do every day, right? I wake up and I want to go for a run. Some days I don't, but that's normal. But I wanted to do a run streak. I wanted to run at least a mile every day, and I was great for the first 2.5 months. Injury, no excuse. In many cases, you can go out and walk a mile. But it's amazing when you get to the end of the day and go, I didn't run today. Like, sometimes it becomes almost tedious to keep track of when you need to run, and you just like take advantage of the fact, like, oh well, I've run every day anyway. So, and then you get to the end of the day and go, I didn't run today. It actually happened where I didn't realize I hadn't run until 12:30, like midnight. One night, and I was like, oh, I'll just go out and run. Oh, it's already the next day. And once that one day was missed, now every Monday I take off. Like, so every Monday is now my rest
and
day.
Now you have a coach too, so I feel
like
but he's kind of making you have
he was super supportive of it. That was part of the things I wanted to tell him I wanted to accomplish this year.
Jesse Murray says you can do a run streaking.
That's true. I can make up for it by just it would be terrible. People would be blinded.
Blinded beauty.
By my beauty. That's it for we have more emails, which I'll probably be reading in the post show. I feel like the Patreon crew post show will have plenty of more stories here to go through. I actually opened a couple and then they just moved down the list a little bit. So we're gonna kind of wrap up this main show here. We get a number of emails every time we do one of these shows that get read on the next episode. So I will say that if you were inspired by tonight's episode or heard a story that maybe you can relate to, or maybe you have a story of your own that you would like to share, don't hesitate to share it with us.
And don't ever think that your story isn't like special enough or outstanding enough, because we love to hear them all.
Yep. Just email it to thegingerrunner@gmail.com. Use the subject viewer mail, and it will get filtered into our viewer mail folder where we can go through and read some of these things on the next episode. I feel like we'll be doing this one, a viewer mail inspiration episode sooner than later, because we are approaching the summer months when people tend to be really into hardcore racing season. And as we move up to Seattle, we'll be transitioning, obviously, the studio space and all sorts of things. So we might not be able to bring in a guest or something because it's kind of a last minute, let's do a live show, and it might be a viewer inspired show. So if you do have a story you'd like to share, or maybe a race recap, maybe you just recently raced and you want to throw up a race recap, please just email it to us. Let us know, and we can hopefully get it up on air. Again, we have a couple that we're going to be reading in the post show. If you'd like to join us in the post show, it's very easy to do. Every Monday after our main show with our special guests, whether we have someone on as our guest or maybe it's just us, we do a post show with our Patreon supporters. And all you have to do is just go to patreon.com/thegingerrun. The link is actually in the description of this video. And for as little as $1 a month, you get access to every Monday's post show. So you get to ask those questions of our guests right then and there while we have them on air. And sometimes you even get to get special deals, whether it's on merchandise, which we'll actually be able to do a lot more of when we're in Seattle. So excited. We get all sorts of cool special deals and discounts on that stuff. You get credits in future movies, and every level is a little bit different. So consider it if you have not already. And it's a monthly thing where you can come and go as you please. So it's not like a year-long subscription. It's a month. It's every month. I think that's it. Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so, other than I guess we'll just announce when our next live show is once we know for sure.
So assume 2 Mondays. Next Monday, we will be dark. However, we are going to attempt to do some sort of live stream, whether it's on Facebook or maybe it's going to be in the Patreon Facebook page or something specifically maybe for Patreon. But this next week is going to be a big transition week. As promised, I'm going to show you the studio here. I feel like, why not?
And I will say that somebody earlier said, is next Monday going to be the very first Monday without a GRL? It is not. Last year.
Every year we do a couple weeks where we go dark.
Did we do that this year? I can't remember if we decided against it this year.
Actually, would you guys know? I forget. I think right after Christmas.
I think we thought we were going to, but we ended up doing shows this year.
I thought we're dark in January. I thought most Januaries we stay dark. I might be wrong. This year we might have just kept going because I think we had some pretty great guests at the top of the year. But I know every year we tend to start with 1 or 2 weeks where we're dark, only to just like breathe a little bit and not worry about scheduling guests and stuff like that. So this will be probably one of the first like out of season GRLs. Skipping.
Yeah, I think they've usually come after the holidays or something like that, or during the holidays.
And really, I mean, honestly, the only reason is because I don't know where we're going to get internet.
Right.
We've done it from hotels and stuff like that in the past, but I believe we're going to be here from home. I mean, hell, for all I know, we will do a Ginger Run Live next Monday, but I think most of the equipment's actually going to be boxed up. So if we do one, it will probably just be
Gus holding one of our iPhone.
Yes.
Our iPhone.
Yes, but please assume that we are not going to do one. But we'll update obviously all of our social channels to show you guys that. Let me figure out how to rotate this camera around.
Whoa.
I might actually have to lift it up. Okay, and I think that's the tilt. It's hard to see so close to my face, guys. Oh, that's right, because that's the screw right there it's broken. You guys, there's a lot of broken things in the studio. That's what happens after years of
not upgrading. So can you not do it?
No, I can. It's just going to be a little herky-jerky. All right. So there's a wall. That's our window to the outside world. Kim can touch the wall. That's my directing chair. There's half of Kim's set plus our drone box that has the Mavic in it. And if you go this way, that's the wall.
You can touch the wall.
So that's our closet. There's more of Kim's set there. So what we do is we take this curtain and we drape it behind us for Kim's set. The closet is full of jackets and camping gear and the stuff. You can see the Mako shirt there, or hat on the box there. That's our doorway out, and you can see lots of shoes on the backside. We have tripods, camera gear, and this is look, you can see yourselves. Whoa, that's really crazy. It's going to be mirrored in there for sure. This is the studio setup. This is my entire editing station. It's an iMac with a extra monitor. Got studio monitors, near field monitors that are not in ideal listening position. And then up there is my camera to do all the reviews with and stuff. And then that's my keyboard where I make all the music for all of my videos. Am I going the right way? Yeah. The cord is going to wrap around itself. So it's just the window again and another tripod. There's Kim's hand. So I'm going to back around the other way. So as you can see, this room's not very big.
It's a lot smaller than people think. People think we have a huge studio.
Yeah, it's not. And I can actually tilt this to the left. Yeah, I can tilt this up. You can see the top of the set. That's the ceiling. That's a better indication of how big
yeah, you
this
can
room
see our
is.
heads.
You can see our heads.
And the walls to the right and the left.
There's a light, clamp light, clamp light. That's basically it. So that's kind of a fun little behind the scenes. Our new home in Seattle has a bit more space.
We're still in discussion over which room is going to be our studio.
I have my ideas.
I have my ideas.
My idea is that it's a 2-bedroom, which is what we're in now, but it's got like 100 square feet more. There's a bigger bedroom, and I'm trying to gamble of like let's do the office in the bigger bedroom and make the smaller bedroom the bedroom. I don't think I'm going to win. Regardless, we'll be able to make it work, and I hope that it will be just a bit more like breathing room.
Oh, people are saying bye to the LA set. And Wing also asks, is that real wood behind you? It's stick wood.
It's recycled wood.
It's like thin.
So a company named Stickwood, I think it's just stick wood. It's recycled, reclaimed wood that has a sticky surface on the backside that actually just sticks to whatever surface you apply it to. And this is a removable wall I built specifically for the purpose of, in case we moved someday, it will come off the wall and we'll take it with us to Seattle. Hopefully it will work in the new space, but it's also one of the most expensive items that we're moving because it's big and it's heavy. But yeah, so that's kind of a behind the scenes look, guys. We're going to move over into the post show with the Patreon supporters. So if you are a Patreon supporter, we'll see you guys in just a couple of seconds. If not, consider joining us. Yeah. This has been a wonderful last episode in this space. I have to thank all of you for supporting, even if you're just watching the content, even if you're just tuning in every week to watch a review or watch the live show or watch the films or whatever. We would not be able to be making this move if it wasn't for your support. We wouldn't have the capability of doing it. We wouldn't have the inspiration to do it. We are pursuing a life of adventure because we can, and that is because of you. We hope to create huge amounts of new and innovative content. We have a list of ideas that we've had for years of things that we've wanted to create and do and plans for viewers and you guys, but we just have been limited in our ability to do some of these things purely by location. We are moving to one of the greenest cities that we've ever experienced, and it's a stone's throw from lush green mountains, so expect a lot more waterfall videos and more videos that hopefully inspire you guys to get outside and to do some fun adventures and stuff like that. But yeah, it ultimately comes down to the wonderful support that we've had from viewers like you. And we are approaching almost 100,000 subscribers on this channel. We are at 82, almost 83,000 right now. The goal is by the end of the year to reach 100,000. And it's just been an incredible journey here because I'm just realizing Ginger Runner started in Los Angeles.
Are you gonna cry?
I might, but people are gonna make fun of me in the chat room because I always cry. But I started this here.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd leave, but
We've had a lot of our own personal starts have been here. Your business start has been here. Like the reasons that kind of steered you into doing what you're doing now, it happened because it was here. Like had you been up in Seattle all these years doing your like corporate office job, this likely would never have been a thing.
Yeah, I hope with the new series of videos that I will be dropping in the coming days, I'll be able to kind of replay my journey because I feel like it's something that it's unique, but I certainly was a corporate guy. And I left that and to pursue something I thought that it was a pipe dream. I had the fortune of being younger. I was in my late 20s, and I'll get into more details, obviously, in the coming days. And I definitely want to end this show, but it kind of dawned on me just then that started here. And it certainly, I didn't expect it to get to where it is. Not at all. And I'm really excited. I am so excited because the next chapter, I look at it as like a door to a bigger room. I mean, literally, but it's a door to just to some bigger things, and that excites me. It makes me sad because obviously everything started here, and
you always have those mixed feelings when you move, you know, because you're
Well,
leaving
yeah.
behind, like it's the emotional attachment, it's the feelings, it's all of that kind of stuff that like why we're kind of attached to being here.
Yeah.
But the grand scheme of things is we're moving somewhere that is going to make us happier as humans. You know, we're much closer to our family.
Yeah.
We're much closer to our best friends. We're much closer to the trails that we're actually emotionally connected to, I think.
Yep.
So
Ginger Runner started in a garage.
Mm-hmm.
And zero budget. It's still kind of at the zero budget, but luckily we're able to make ends meet purely because of your support. Started in a garage, and it's graduated to a 10 by 10 bedroom, and we'll graduate to a 10 by 15 bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
unless we do the smaller one. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and I'm so thankful for the incredible community that we have, and the hundreds of people that are watching now, and the hundreds of people that watch every week, and the thousands of people that have supported us since the very beginning, and the millions of views that we've had on this channel since day one.
But here's the thing. Where's Chemo?
Is Kimosabi not here?
He's not here tonight.
Kimosabi 75 letting us down. I'm gonna wrap up the main show. I didn't mean to get a little emotional. I know it's totally cool.
Chuck Hall says Ethan just threw shade. Yeah, you did.
I've been throwing shade all night, and Kim dropped it every time I dropped it.
No, you're throwing shade at me about the room size. He missed his own shade.
I did. No, I didn't miss my own shade. I purposefully throw shade. You guys, thank you. Thank you. I wish there was some more like ceremonial goodbye to the space, but we'll probably be doing that in the coming days with the videos.
Yeah, I think it'll be part of some of the vlogs that we do.
I'm realizing the reason I haven't stopped this live show is because the only way I can stop it,
you have to get up.
I have to walk I have to walk 3 steps. So here, I'm gonna film me ending my last show, Ginger Runner live show in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but what about Gus? Gus hasn't even made an appearance yet. We all know that we're all here for Gus. Ah!
Gus, do you want to stop the show, bud? I don't think you can. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.